This trimmer has everything it needs to start and run, but it simply refuses to do anything. It has spark, some compression, and we're physically adding fuel to it. We even tried unflooding the engine on the chance that was the case, but that didn't work either. So what am I going to do now? Well, it's time to get desperate and start replacing parts. But we're not going to do it in the way you're thinking of. Instead, this time, we're going to get cheap. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this Echo string trimmer. And the problem is that despite all of our testing confirming that everything was good, this engine will not start. So in the last video, we had to take all the plastics off in order to find out that the timing was not off because of a damaged flywheel key. So I did read all the comments from that last video, and there was a lot of great advice from double checking items to the compression being too low. The problem is that I now have to figure out which of the comments I'm able to do, and I think I know which one that is. Okay, so hear me out. I was told a very long time ago that these Echo trimmers can have bad ignition coils. But of all the Echo trimmers I've ever worked on, it's very rare for me to have to replace a coil. So before I commit to replacing the ignition coil, I'm going to do the next best thing. And that is to replace it with a used one to test if it'll fix the problem. Once we know the used one works to get the engine started, I'll then buy a new coil and swap it out. So this is a parts trimmer that I had lying around and I don't remember what's wrong with it. But now would be a great time to use it, and hopefully it too doesn't have a bad coil, otherwise this test will be a huge waste of time. Of course, I'll have to put most of the engine back together for this test, but I plan on putting just enough of it back together and not all of it. This will help to reduce the amount of time I'll waste if this test turns out to be a dud. And for those keen-eyed viewers, you'll notice that my piston stop is just a long spark plug with the ground and electrode missing. Of course, you could just use a really long bolt with the same threads, but this was much easier to do, at least for me. Now, if you don't have either option available, but you have an old pull rope from say an old lawnmower, you can also put that down the spark plug opening. However, you do risk getting the rope caught in the ports in the engine, so I no longer use that method. Now, I'm going to add an additional nut to the rear part of the crankshaft, and the reason why is because it'll allow me to use a drill to help start the engine. Of course, this part is optional. If you don't want to do this part, just install the recoil assembly instead. Now, once the old ignition coil is free from the engine, I do want to get a good look at it. I'm going to check to see if there's anything obviously broken on it, but what we see is a bit disappointing. I don't see anything cracked or broken on the body of the coil, and that's the problem. What's wrong with it is more than likely inside the body, so you won't be able to tell. Also, remember to turn the flywheel magnets towards the new coil when installing it. Now, to set the air gap, I'll be using a business card, but you can use whatever method you think is best. The magnets will also help to hold the coil in place while you install the bolts for it. Once the ignition coil is in place, we'll install the spark plug, but if you think the plug might be bad, this would be a great time to replace it. However, I'm going to wait until the tests start to do that. So you have no idea how long I've been waiting for it to make that sound. That confirms it then. The ignition coil was the problem this entire time despite our testing showing that it was working. Even with this one covered in rust on the mounting surface and the side facing the magnets, it still worked better than the other one. That means we need to order a new ignition coil and it should get this trimmer back up and running again. Now, even though I referenced the parts diagram to get the correct part number, it's always a good idea to compare it to the old one. Now this one certainly looks like what we took off, but I'm still going to put it side by side with the good one and it does look just like it. So I have to admit it could have easily been bad magnets on the flywheel or stuck piston rings or even leaking gaskets. So it's quite lucky and I'm very happy that we figured it out on the first guess. But was it really luck or something else? See, guessing requires no information, but with the information from the viewers like you, the choices were really between the coil and the flywheel, both of which we had on hand with the parts machine. But what if we didn't have a parts machine? What then? Well, it would have made things a little bit tougher to choose from. But I will say that if you have this problem, first make sure the engine is not flooded. And then after that, I'd say replace the spark plug and then the ignition coil, but what about the carb? There were so many comments saying that the carb might be bad, and even though it's a fair point, it was simply too soon to tell considering that we were bypassing the carb the entire time during testing. But if you're concerned that the carb might be the problem, then just go ahead and replace it. So here comes the fuel tank and the issue with the grommet. Now, I don't have a problem with the grommet, but I really don't care for these plastic couplers that go through them. I find them to be a real liability, and just like in the case of this one, the lines can disconnect from them. So I intend to remove them and just pass the fuel lines through the grommet instead. Now you can choose to keep using the couplers if you want to, but if you do, you might want to consider using clamps to keep the lines from coming loose. So I'll be using this yellow fuel line sized at 3/16 of an inch outside diameter, but you're welcome to use whatever kind you want. The first line I'll be installing will be the return line, and you want to make sure that it extends at least an inch into the tank. Now doing it this way will help to make sure that it won't fall out on its own. So this part is the tank vent, and its job is to allow air to pass into the tank but keep fuel from coming out. And since there's nothing wrong with this line, I'll be reusing it, but if yours is showing signs of damage, I would replace it. Now it too can extend into the tank by an inch if you want to, but it's not needed. And of course, the last fuel line will be for the fuel filter and will need at least several inches of line inside the tank. Now you could push all that line into the tank if you want to, or you could choose to pull it in with some bent pliers instead. Using pliers will make it a whole lot easier to do and save you a lot of time as well. Once there's enough line in the tank, fish out the end of the line and install the fuel filter. The one that came out of this tank was practically brand new, so we're going to reuse it as well. But if the one that came out of yours is looking a bit crusty, I would consider replacing it. And that's because the crusty stuff could be on the inside of the filter as well. Now the next part is extremely vital to how well you want your machine to run. Once the fuel filter is back inside the tank, make sure you locate it in a place where it can pick up as much fuel as possible. Now if the filter is located in the middle of the fuel tank, it might not be able to pick up all the fuel, especially if the trimmer is used on its side for edging. Of course, if you don't use your trimmer for edging, then I wouldn't worry about it. But since I'm not sure how it'll be used, I'll play it safe and assume that it will be. Also, be sure to place the tank vent in this spot in the recoil to help secure it. So when connecting the fuel lines, the filter line will connect to the larger port, which is closer to the engine. And that means the return line will connect to the smaller one, which is further away from the engine. I almost forgot to connect the ground wire to the coil, and if I did, I wouldn't be able to turn off the machine from the switch. As a side note, if you're using your trimmer and it keeps shocking you even if you're not touching the spark plug wire, it could mean the small wire has a break in it and is grounding to the metal on the machine. The fix would be to take as much of the machine apart as you need and replace the wire. If you're not comfortable doing that, ask someone for help who's done it before. And if you can't do that, then you either need to learn how to do it yourself or buy a new trimmer. I know buying a new trimmer is not feasible for some consumers, so it's worth a shot to fix it. Now, of course, you could always take your trimmer to a shop to have them do it for you at a high cost. However, some shops won't even look at it if it's not from a decent brand. And if your machine happens to be from a big box store, well, you're kind of out of luck. Now you could test run it without the top cover, but be careful if you do. The top cover is needed to help direct airflow that cools the engine, and without it could cause the engine to overheat. Also, if you see a good trimmer for sale without the top cover, I'd pass on it because if it was ran like that, it may have already been damaged. Once the cover is on and the spark plug wire has been connected, now comes a very important test. Once we add some fuel to the tank, we'll need to check on the fuel flow through the system. If the flow is in the wrong direction or there's no flow, you'll have to look at the carb or the fuel lines. We didn't get a chance to test the flow the last time, so this is an important test. When pressing on the bulb, fuel will flow up the filter line into the carb and then fill the bulb and then go back to the tank through the return line. I know that was tough to see, but it only took one press for the fuel to be pulled up into the filter line. Now that we know the flow is good, we'll then try and start the engine. So it seems the trimmer is now starting and running just like it should be, and we didn't even have to look at the carb this time. Now this project could have easily have gone on a lot longer, but realizing that there seemed to be more of a chance of a bad coil really helped out this time. I've never heard anyone complaining about a bad flywheel or stuck rings on this model, so the chances of that being a problem was a lot less. Of course, luck had a role to play in this one, but you can't always count on it. However, I am really glad that it showed up this time. So my question is, do you keep a parts machine around your shed or garage, or do you think it's a huge waste of space? In this case, I'm really glad I had this one lying around. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.